Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of the Ogweno Political Show. Here we train political aspirants on politics and political processes in Kenya, guided by biblical principles, hoping that we'll be able to achieve better governance in Kenya. I want to appreciate you for those who have already watched, who have liked, who have subscribed, and also who have referred their friends to this particular channel. I appreciate. I'm also grateful to Women United for Our Future for the role and the support that they have given us towards the production of this particular show. And so today we want to look at a very vital topic that if you as an aspirant you are going to run for election in Kenya, you may want to consider. We are going to look at campaign volunteers. Yes, campaign volunteers. Volunteers can be the heartbeat of your campaign, but if not well managed, they can also become your biggest liability. So who is a campaign volunteer? These are people who freely give their time, they give their skills, they give their energy to support your political campaign. They can range from friends, they can be family, they can be youth groups, they can be community leaders, they can be students, they can be young, they can be old. Ideally, it's just anybody can be your campaign volunteer. Again, it is important to note that if they have to be people whom you're not paying. If you're paying them in one way or the other, then they don't qualify to be a volunteer. A volunteer, they're not paid, the others become staff. Research has shown that face-to-face mobilization of votes is very, very important, and it wins over these other strategies. So please do not overlook the importance of volunteers, because you as a human being, you are limited and you may not be able to meet all your voters and have face-to-face interaction. Something that I'd also want to say at this particular point is that Kenya has already made some guidelines on how volunteers are supposed to be handled. So take your time and look at the Kenya National Volunteerism Guidelines. At Ogweno Political Show, we have also done this homework on your behalf. And so in the link to in the description to this particular episode, we're going to put for you a link where you'll be able to find this document. Kindly familiarize yourself with it to help you, equip you for your particular campaigns. This particular guideline touches on things to do with, let's say, like children. Children are not supposed to be part and parcel of your campaign, people who are less than 18-year-old. But should you want them to be, you have to seek the consent of their parents. So we are talking about what are the principles of volunteerism. We're talking about protection of volunteers, obligation of volunteers. We're talking about responsibility of volunteer involving organization. We're talking about the ministries, the departments, the agencies. Okay, should there be arbitration, sanction, and accreditation? All that is covered. In addition to that, the role of the government. So this is a very vital document. Please do not ignore it. Take your time. It will also guide you in the event you're going to have your own code of conduct, and you want to draft it. So you need this document so that you align your code of conduct with the Kenya National Volunteerism Guideline document. Now we want to look at what are some of the advantages that volunteers get to offer in your political campaign? Some of these advantages you can guess, but let's just go through it. Well, the first one is, of course, they're going to give you cost-effective manpower. Because you're not paying them, it is obvious that that is going to help reduce your campaign budget. Grassroots mobilization. Volunteers are very good with door-to-door and just going to the community and just helping in that particular mobilization. Of course, they can mobilize for you their family, they can mobilize for you their friends, their churches, their neighbors, their if they come from the Muslim community, all that, which is very, very important for you. Again, they have passion and energy. Remember, these are people who are coming to work for you, but you're not paying them, so they're coming because of passion. Okay, so their enthusiasm is very important. You'll find that they're more enthusiastic than even the staff at some particular point. So they're very, very important because they bring in that energy. As I've said, yeah, they are able to reach a wider reach of people, because you may not be able to reach many people, yet if you have many volunteers, you'll be able to achieve that. So they have a wider reach. Again, you are talking about a loyal base. If they feel your vibe and they remain loyal, then you have a very loyal base that will translate into your votes on the particular election day. Okay, so you find that some of them, even after your campaign, they can still remain loyal, and you may still end up using them in one way or another. Again, they are authentic. and you find that that really works because they know the community and they're going to ask for votes on your behalf. They can relate with that person in the community and that person can relate with them. So they are more authentic than you as the candidate who that particular voter does not know. Again, of course, they have the local knowledge, so they can give you, nuggets and wisdom of that particular area. This works here, these are some of the local issues that are here. You find that maybe you're vying in an area, but that entire area does not have the same problem. Maybe a smaller unit of it has a problem that is particular to that area, and another smaller unit also has a different problem or challenge. So here they can also help you with those challenges of those particular areas. Sometimes there are these small routes that you may not know and probably are not highlighted by Google Maps. They are able to let you know you can follow here, you can go there, you can go there. You find that because they already know this, sometimes even when you're going to meet a group, they can introduce you and present and use the language that is relevant there. Maybe because of language barrier, you are not able to speak the language of the people in that particular area. So they come in handy because that is their native language. They're able to speak it on your behalf and introduce you and just maybe say that which you're standing for. Again, they bring skills contribution. You find that they are skilled people. Maybe some of them are just people who have not gotten an opportunity to work, or some of them are working, so they're volunteering in your campaign part-time. So they bring in their skills. Again, as I said, they're very, very important in voter mobilization. The last day of election is a do or die day. You want to mobilize voters to come out in their numbers and vote. Who is going to do that on your behalf? Volunteers come in very handy. Volunteers come in very handy even on the online space and just social media, just to popularize your candidature, whip up people, give your campaign messaging. They are very, very vital, so please do not underestimate them. And like every good thing that has an advantage, also volunteers have their disadvantage or their weak areas. So one of the disadvantage of having volunteers is their lack of commitment. Considering you're not paying them, they may just not be committed, and today they may be in your campaign team and tomorrow they may abandon you midway. That's a challenge. You also you want to look at switching loyalty. Today they may be in your campaign team, tomorrow they're in your opponent's campaign team for one reason or another, and you see they're not obligated to stay with you. So you may find yourself in a funny situation with when it comes to that. Again, limited professional skills. Not all the people who come to your campaign team have professional skills. Some of them do not have any skill. They're just passionate about your campaign. So that may mean you may have to start training them, or you may just find yourself with another challenge that they have come with when they are not professionally skilled. Again, risk of misconduct. Everybody has their personal character, so maybe they have a personal character that is not good. They may go out there and misbehave and just do something for the community, or just attack somebody in a way that is not positive, and that may work to your disadvantage. So that is a very, very very big risk if you're working with volunteers. Again, resource demands. The fact that they are volunteers does not mean that them being in your campaign has not come with additional expenses. For example, they have to eat, they have to go and do door to door, so they may need branding, they may need some lanyard, you may want to appreciate them at the end of that. So this is definitely a resource demand. Again, message distortion. If they have not been trained very well and brought to alignment with your candidature, you find that they may go out there and tweak your campaign message, that may not work very well with your candidature. So these are things that may affect you. You find that some of them are also just opportunistic, and some of them want to extort you. Unfortunately, that's true. So when they see your candidature, they just see it as an opportunity to make money. So some of them are not coming to your campaign because they are very, very genuine. Some are looking for an opportunity to make money. Unfortunately, politics in Kenya still involves a lot of handouts, and so some may be attracted by that money. Others may be attracted to extort you. You find that somebody can go to your social media, they take a photo, then they design, let's say, like a poster. Then they now start extorting you for money. Like, now I have already designed this for you, send me money. Some just want to be close to you so that they get to have some information, then they use it in a negative way. So unfortunately, that is true. Just watch out for that. There may also be molds. It's very easy for volunteers to be used as molds and be set up by your opponent. So don't assume that everybody who comes to your camp comes with all the best of intentions. Some have been sent, and they've been sent by your opponent. Again, you find they have post-election entitlement. If you don't manage them well, volunteers may later demand favors such as job, contracts, or money, claiming that their support is what brought you to your candidate, to your victory. So this also happens if you don't win. You find even after elections that you've not met, some of them still are entitled, and they feel, I did this for you during campaigns. I was there for you. I did this. I campaigned for you. So they start demanding for, they feel entitled and start demanding for things. So that is a disadvantage. Again, dependency gap. If you over rely on volunteers without a clear structure, they can cripple your campaign when they withdraw, especially on the voting day. You may just think you have a very big team, then on the voting day you realize your team is very lean, and yet you need people, and the last minute they've just done an about turn on you. You can find yourself in a very, very disadvantageous position. So of course we've talked about all these things, but of course it is very important that as a candidate you get to mitigate these risks. So what are some of the things that you can be able to do as a candidate so that this does not get to affect you as much? So one of the things you want to do is assign clear roles and responsibility. So you're going to start with smaller committed group as you grow gradually. So start your campaign team with a small team and let this team grow over time. The smaller team can go and recruit other members, and then they bring in other people. When they bring in people, sometimes they bring in people that they know, and that just can work to your favor. Again, you want to talk about to reimburse people when they use their money. They come, yes, to volunteer in your campaign, but they may use their money in one way or the another. So while they're in that campaign, they may use their personal money. You want to refund them, but also just make sure you have created room so that they don't have to use their money in the very first place. So like you have vehicles, you have meals and things like that. Again, you want to appreciate them at the end of the day, or appreciate them as they work. For example, in the course of their work, somebody has done something that is nice. Just appreciate them. If there is a room for promotion, let's say you have noticed somebody is very skilled, and now you think you can actually now employ them, then take that and just promote them so that they feel well, but also reward them if they have done something that is nice in the course of campaigns are still not over. Just make sure you thank them. Again, you want to create a simple volunteer code of conduct and require sign-ups with ID. We are talking about now you want to mitigate the risk of low accountability and molds. So have people sign a code of conduct. Of course, you have to draft this code of conduct, and as I mentioned before, look at the requirements that the country has already put in. Of course, add in with yours as an aspirant or as a political party, and then make sure that it is the same for all volunteers, whether you're joining today and you're joining later on. It is that standard form that everybody gets to fill. You can also have team leaders monitor the attendance and behavior of of uh, of um, of volunteers. So assign them into teams and have somebody who is able to check them out. You also want to train them. For those ones who have limited professional skills, when they come into your campaign, just don't assume. Take time, train them. How do you want them to speak? How do you want them to behave out there? How do they greet people? Which messaging do they do? What is the etiquette? What is the communication? So make sure you do this. And when you have now experienced volunteers, remember I said you can start with a small group as you grow. So match the experienced one. Now when they're going to the field, match the experienced ones with the ones that are not so experienced, so that they can get to learn from the ones who are experienced. Again, to look at the risk of misconduct, you want to again train volunteers, as I said, how to interact with the public, how to interact with the opponents. Also train them on the rules of the land. For example, IEBC has laws, electoral laws, how candidates are supposed to behave, and it's always candidates and their team. So you have to bring them up to speed with these requirements. you also have to, how do you handle opponents, how do you handle IBC materials. For example, you cannot go and put a poster on top of somebody else's poster. These are things that you want to train them on. You also want to have, consequences if somebody misbehaves. What are some of the consequences? So these, their team leaders will be able to communicate these consequences to them. And in the event it necessitates, then you may want to just maybe dismiss somebody if it's an extreme case. So let them know that these are some of the things that your campaign has put in as some of the stopgap measures to see into it that that misconduct is addressed. When it comes to resource demands, you have to budget for volunteers. Volunteers come with a cost. As I said, they need water, they need snacks, they need branded t-shirts, there's transport, and even the person who's going to be in charge of all of them needs a salary. So make sure that when you're budgeting, please do not forget to also budget for volunteers, so that so that their resource demands is addressed. You also want to train them when it comes to message distortion, so that they have very clear campaign guidelines. As a campaign, also have your do's and don'ts very clear. You can maybe put them in a wall somewhere in your campaign office, so that it's very clear for everybody during those debriefing sessions. Everybody knows it, and it's everybody can abide by it. Again, you want to maintain boundaries between personal and campaign matters. Now we are trying to talk about how are you going to mitigate extortion. Avoid giving sensitive personal information and financial information. If someone seems to be fishing for intel, restrict their access immediately. So over and above that, if you feel you are being extorted and you feel very uncomfortable, go and report, because you find sometimes politicians, because they do not want something that will put them in a negative standing with the community, and they fear losing votes, sometimes they don't want to report these things. And when you don't report it and it gets quiet, you find that extortionists just take advantage of this, and more and more and more of them come on board. So just go and report to the police. The police will be able to help you with that. On the election day strategy, put in extra measures that will see into it that you have volunteers and you have your campaign agents on that particular day. So go out of your way as a candidate to address that, to mitigate that risk. For example, if you can have all your agents, maybe sleep at a particular place. If your campaign resources can allow, have all of them sleep at a particular place, so that by the time you're waking up in the morning, you already know this is the team that I have and this is the team I'm going to start the day with. You find that sometimes volunteers and agents, they are agents in your campaign, and they are agents also in your opponent's also campaign, or in campaigns of many other candidates, because people want to maximize the election period and make as much money as they possibly can make. So you find that happens. So this is where the code of conduct comes in. Have people sign that, and once they have signed that, let it also have a legal consequence to it. And of course, when you're looking for volunteers, try and look for a slightly higher number, so that when some people leave, you can easily find replacement for the ones who have left. I've already talked about budgeting for volunteers. It is very, very important that you get to do that. In addition to that, another thing you can do is just integrate volunteerism into the campaign strategy. Make sure that you build a structure where volunteerism fits into your long-term political movement, so that you can keep volunteers engaged. So for example, let's say in your plan, your campaign plan, you have decided you're going to a particular area, let's say a particular area B. So you have already planned that you will go there next month. So make sure that aligns. Volunteerism also aligns with that. So then the volunteers that you already have there, if you don't have source for them, but now the ones that you've already sourced that are there, make sure you inform them that you'll be coming to this particular area, so then you get to use them. So when you're planning your main campaign strategy, also have the volunteers at the back of your mind, so that they come in handy at the right time. You find that because of, let's say, school calendars, volunteers may not be necessarily available all the time. They may have to go to school. So you want to plan with this. Know the time that you may have a lot of volunteers in your campaign, and maybe those are the times you can slot the activities that really need a lot of people on the ground. And on the voting day, how then do you get to have as many volunteers as possible on that particular day? So don't forget to integrate volunteerism into your campaign strategy. Again, you want to be clear on your needs. Why are you looking for volunteers? What do you want them to do? What is the role that you have? So be very clear. This can also help you know how many volunteers do I need? Do I need 10? Do I need 20? And so you're able to budget for that. So that you also do not have everybody leaving and you have no one else to replace it. Again, you want to design a volunteerism policy. When you're designing a volunteerism policy, as I'd said, be guided by the national guidelines. And this is something that you can have and you can also be using, and for everybody in your team, or for everybody in that political party, for you who's there. And if you may need to help in designing your own volunteerism policy for your candidate, please leave a comment in the comment section. We'll be able to pick it up and we're able to assist you with that. But if not, remember to also come up with your own policy. Again, you want to have a volunteer staff coordinator, who's going to coordinate all these teams. They have to answer to somebody must be able to organize everybody. So make sure you hire somebody who's able to do all these things, and you're able to pay them. And even there's very clear communication on the hierarchy as far as the teams are concerned. The volunteer teams, they know this is the person we answer to, and this person answer to that person, and like that. You also want to expect attrition. This is something that happens. Politics, people don't remain loyal. Somebody may be loyal to you today and tomorrow they leave. So expect it, and if you expect it, please budget for it and plan for it. You also want to be creative in the recruitment. How are you going to recruit the volunteering team? How do people come to know about, maybe that you're even looking for volunteers? So the first thing is, you can advertise in your website, in case you have a website. Another thing, you can send emails. Another thing I'd also mention, for the small team that you started, they can also help to recruit a bigger team. Again, you even when you're going for rallies, social media posts, you can ask people in those social media posts and create a post saying, hey, do you want to volunteer? And if you want to volunteer, then follow the steps 1, 2, 3, 4. You can make phone calls asking, looking for volunteers, and like that. Again, you want to introduce volunteering at different levels. For example, you can have volunteers, you can have the core team, you can have advisors, so people can serve at the level by which they are comfortable. Some people may also just want to volunteer part-time. Maybe they come for a few hours, then they go look for do their other jobs. Make sure that room is already there. In case they'll be doing their other jobs, make sure that you let volunteers know that they are not supposed to resign their job to come and now fully be in your campaign. But in the event that they do that, then that is their decision. It is not a decision that they will hold you accountable for. You want to leverage on digital tools. Okay, you have WhatsApp groups, you have Facebook groups, all that. So these are groups you can just post, letting people know that you are looking for volunteers, and people are able to respond. Okay, so as I draw to the close of this particular episode, I want to say that as an aspirant, remember that volunteer management is not accidental. It requires strategy, clarity, and leadership. Even Jesus, I remember this show is guided by biblical principles. So even Jesus, when he recruited his disciples, he was deliberate in his choice. He selected people with different strengths: fishermen, tax collectors, and even zealots. So, who each brought something that was unique to his mission. So, this teaches us that as leaders, we must be intentional about who we bring close to us and who we give as roles. Looking at modern politics, we want to look at Barack Obama's campaign in the year 2008. He managed to have 2.2 million volunteers. Yes, 2.2 million volunteers, and Barack, as the candidate, may have inspired people to join his particular campaign as volunteers. But also, the volunteers say that they found fulfilling relationships which they built in one another when they were campaigning, and that kept them going, and they continued being volunteers. So instead of treating volunteers as just manpower for routine tasks like door knocking, remember to make it relational, so they can relate to each other. So it is very, very important that you make it very, very, very relational and very interactive for them. If you'll be working with volunteers, remember some of these, because they're passionate, they may end up getting into politics just like that. For those who have watched till this particular time, I want to appreciate you. I want you to leave some comments on the comment section so that you are able to know your experience in as far as volunteers are concerned, for the ones who ran in the last elections, and for the ones who are looking forward to vying in the next election. Watch out for the next episode of Linda Ogweno Political Show. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you and bye bye.